So now we're looking at the preventive and aspects of plants, which I call phytochemotherapy. He says, I'll have the half-pound double deluxe bacon steer burger, please. And the clerk presciently asked, would you like some chemotherapy with that? Because you're going to need it. All right, this is video from another cancer survivor, Donna Green Goodman, who was able to cure stage 3 breast cancer with diet.
Why do I have something to shout about? Because in 1996, who I thought lived fairly healthfully, went into my doctor for a regular checkup. And ladies, you need to go regularly every year for your annual exam with your physician and schedule one for the men and children in your life. But on this particular day, I went to see my doctor and I'd had a history of fibrocystic breast disease. And this year we had been following a lump in my breast. And the doctor said, why don't we just do a mammogram, Donna, this time. I was 37 years old. We did the mammogram. And I kept getting phone calls. The final phone call I got was, you have cancer. And I'm thinking, there's no way. I work for Morehouse School of Medicine. I teach people how not to get it. I'm college educated. My husband and I make enough money. I go to the doctor. I eat healthfully. I exercise. How in the world did this happen to me? I had one surgery. They took the lump out. I had another surgery. They went under my arm and took out lymph nodes. Of the 17 lymph nodes that they took out, there was cancer in 6 of them. I was told by my physician that I was guaranteed to die within 2 to 5 years. They recommended that I have chemotherapy, a stem cell transplant, more chemotherapy, radiation, and tamoxifen. And as a health educator, I was trained at Loma Linda University, which has a rich history of looking at the effect of diet and lifestyle on the impact or incidence or prevalence of disease. I was a little concerned because nobody was saying to me, Donna, you have this disease. As a matter of fact, one doctor in particular kept saying, we don't know why you have this, and there's nothing that you can do, and you should listen to me and do what I say. Well, I couldn't just do that because I'm trained as a health educator. I knew a little bit more, and I believe in the Creator God who says that above all things, He wishes that we would prosper and be in health. And so I got on my knees and I talked to my Creator, and I decided that I would radically change my lifestyle. I changed how I slept. I changed how I exercised. I got outside and got plenty of sunlight. I changed my way of eating. And here I am almost 13 years later, depending on when you're viewing this video, and I'm free of the cancer and the constipation and the uterine fibroids and the hair loss and the weight gain and the heart rhythms that were irregular and the insomnia and so many other complications of making poor lifestyle decisions. So when you get information about your health, don't just take the first thing, go and compare. And if you believe like I believe, compare it to what the Creator God has also put out there for you to learn. One of the first things that I discovered was the beautiful bounty of plants that we find on the face of the earth and the benefits that are associated with them. And I started eating from the bounty of the land in as close to nature a state as possible.
This picture comes courtesy of Dr. Brenda Davis, and I love it because it just summarizes the protective factors found in plant foods: fiber, phytochemicals, plant enzymes, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, plant sterols and stanols, pre and probiotics, macronutrients from healthier sources, and the micronutrients from the healthy sources. And plant-based diets can prevent and cure cancer. Why? Why are they so effective? It's because they actually address the actual causes of cancer. So we already discussed shutting down growth of cancer-promoting genes like mTOR, which is promoted by animal protein, reducing the amount of IGF-1 and insulin, which are increased by eating animal protein. You protect your DNA by preventing DNA damage and mutagenesis, reducing the incidence of free radicals, reactive oxygen species, lipid peroxidations that are caused by these animal food associated compounds like heme iron, persistent organic pollutants, biotoxins that are found in animal foods. You don't have the animal hormone stimulated growth of cancer cells, and you decrease the inflammation that is caused by animal fat and bacterial toxins and antigens that promote and drive the growth of cancer cells. And then plant-based diets are free of these animal proteins, animal fat, and hormones. They turn on tumor suppressor genes, those genes that suppress tumor growth. They contain high levels of known and unknown anti-inflammatory, antioxidants, and protective phytochemicals, and they contain compounds that actually kill and suppress cancer cells. So I need you to realize that food is just a bunch of chemicals that taste good, and food represents the largest amount of chemical compounds that we will ingest over our lifetimes. Our genes have had a much longer history, experience, interaction with these nutritive chemicals, as opposed to the pharmaceutical compounds we take when we're trying to recover health. The influence of diet and nutritive chemicals on our health and longevity are mediated in part through their epigenetic effects on our genes. This means that with respect to preventing and or treating diseases like cancer and the theoretical and practical benefits of understanding the relationship between our food and our health is enormous. Now, this from the 2007 report of the World Cancer Research Fund and American Institute for Cancer Research, main outcomes and takeaways suggested dietary guidance where evidence is sufficiently compelling include limiting or avoiding dairy products to reduce the risk of prostate cancer, limiting or avoiding alcohol to reduce the risk of cancer of the mouth, pharynx, larynx, esophagus, colon, rectum, and breast, avoiding red and processed meats to reduce the risk of cancer of the colon and rectum, avoiding grilled, fried, broiled meats to reduce risk of cancer of the colon, rectum, breast, prostate, kidney, and pancreas, consumption of soy products during adolescence to reduce the risk of breast cancer in adulthood, and to reduce the risk of recurrence and mortality for women previously treated for breast cancer. And 6, emphasizing fruits and vegetables to reduce the risk of several common forms of cancer. And bottom line is your DNA is not necessarily your destiny, because we now understand the importance of epigenetics, how diet actually modifies our genome in either beneficial or negative ways. So epigenetic literally means above the genome, and these studies show how diet and environment interact and affect and regulate DNA, with the belated recognition that the long stretches of DNA that don't actually function as genes actually are the regulatory sections of the DNA. It has become clear that epigenetic plays a much more profound and pervasive and persistent role in our lives and our health than we ever suspected. It turns out regulatory genes outnumber the functional genes by a ratio of 50-1. So in other words, your diet helps control your DNA. And all DNA is coded and protected by what are called histone proteins that can be modified by methylation and acetylation from the plant foods consumed in the diet. And when that happens, those genes are much more stable, and the good genes get turned on, the bad genes get turned off. These changes affect gene transcription rates for many genes, including oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. Epigenetic effects are analogous to software versus hardware, with and the influence can be passed down across generations. And worms in the lab, as they've been shown to be passed down by as many as 40 generations, but they've been documented. These epigenetic effects have been documented out to 3 and 4 generations in humans. The epigenetic of cancer is very well studied in cancer cells. Many genes lose these methyl attachments that come from the plant foods that we eat if you're not eating enough plant foods, and that's what allows these cancer-causing genes to become active. In a study published in the British Medical Journal in 2009, they showed that diet-induced changes in the epigenetic regulation of something called human mitochondrial superoxide dismutase gene expression could be accomplished. Dr. Dean Ornish and others showed that in Lancet, a study published in Lancet in 2008, increased telomerase activity after only 3 months on a plant-based diet by up to 84%. Telomerase is important because the longer your telomeres are, the longer you live and the more disease resistant you are. And this is another video from Dr. Michael Greger.
To recap, the traditional model of how fruits and vegetables protect against cancer is that their antioxidants prevent the buildup of free radicals, also known as reactive oxygen species, ROS, which would otherwise go on to damage our cellular DNA, membranes, etc., which could lead to the transformation of healthy cells into damaged, diseased, or dying cells. But in that landmark 2003 kiwi fruit study, we learned that there's a second pathway as well. Phytonutrients actually modulate gene expression and can increase our cellular defenses, such that even if there is some damage to our DNA, our cells may recover instead of being irreparably lost. The kiwi study looked at one of those defenses, one DNA repair enzyme, but there are many ways our cells repair our DNA. We don't mess around when it comes to protecting our genes. So question number one, what effect does kiwi fruit consumption have on all these other defenses? And question number two, what if we branch out and test multiple fruits and veggies at the same time? You'll remember that there did not seem to be a dose response with the kiwis, right? As far as this DNA repair enzyme was concerned, you were either eating kiwis or not. It didn't really matter how many. But man cannot live on kiwis alone. What if you did a mix of fruits and veggies? Could we break through that ceiling? Now, studies are expensive, particularly if the kiwi people refuse funding because you have the audacity to test other fruit. So they wanted to make this study count. So when they designed their plant portfolio, they went all out. Check it out. Green tea, rosehip juice, berries, 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 pomegranate, dark blue grapes, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, red cabbage, kale, blue potatoes, dark chocolate, walnuts, rosemary, oregano. This study is making me hungry. I don't know if you noticed, but this is that same amazing research group that blessed the world with that study of thousands of different foods, so they knew what they were doing. OK, long story short, plant-based diets can prevent development of several chronic age-related diseases, blah, blah, blah. We know that. Yes, but how, and what about that plateau effect? This is what they did. 3 groups. The antioxidants to the teeth group compared to the 3 kiwi a day group compared to control. Took blood from everyone, and then, for the first time ever reported, did this microarray analysis where you can measure the effects of a plant-based diet on expression of hundreds of different genes at a time. The first to investigate the influences of healthy diets on gene expression in whole blood. This was the study. All right, well, the kiwi group was able to significantly regulate not just one gene, as I showed in the 2003 study, but a total of 5. Meanwhile, the very berry group significantly regulated 5 times more, 25 genes. Conclusion: the observed changes in blood cell gene expression profiles suggest that the beneficial effects of a plant-based diet on human health may be mediated through optimization of defense processes.